Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, thank you for coming. It's good to see you. I'm on about 1 hour of sleep, and it was totally my fault. So I apologize if I'm a little bit messed up today. But it is good to see you because we only have about 1 week left. Okay. In fact, at this time next week, Showcase is officially underway. Okay. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about what the showcase is going to look like. We'll do a little briefing for you. We'll talk about what you're going to do, how it's going to work. But basically, before the showcase arrives, all of you will know whether you're part of the A team or the B team. And what's going to happen at the showcase is you're going to bring your laptop or you're going to get your game running on one of these machines, and we're going to spend about 35 minutes, and all of the B team people are going to play the A team games, and the A team people are just going to kind of stand there, watch people play the game, take notes, right? A good way to get lots of feedback and have a great time. And then after 30 minutes, we're going to swap, and all of the A team people are going to play the B team games, okay? And in this way, you will be able to play a lot of games of your peers, and you will see and actually get to watch your game be played by a lot of your peers, okay? And then during that final showcase at the end to wrap it up, we'll do one final lecture to kind of recap the course, and then that's it. Okay, that will be your last chance to get one of these lovely stickers as well, course completion stickers. If you don't have yours, make sure you come up to get one. we have a lot of these stickers, and they weren't cheap. I think the tariffs are driving up the sticker prices around here. And yeah, make sure you come get them, okay? Anyway, if you look at where we are on the schedule, you have 1 week until that showcase project is going to be due. And please don't underestimate it, okay? This project is going to need you to create a handful of characters. And those characters are going to have animations, and they're going to have to be integrated into Unity. And at every step of this process, something could go wrong, and it might take a little bit of time to fix it. You might want some office hours to fix it. But the number of office hours remaining in this course is dwindling by the day. So please get started on this. Give yourself time to run into problems so that you then have time to solve them. Okay, it's not very fun running into problems on Sunday when there's no help remaining, and you just have to kind of go through the night. That's just not a good time at all. Okay, and if things are broken when you bring it to the showcase, everyone's going to know. All right. Okay. So anyway, make sure you're trying to make some web builds on occasion just to test and make sure that process is working well too. A couple updates happened recently. There was a great question asked on the course Discord server. Can we copy and paste animations from one of our characters to the next? And the answer is, we don't really want that, okay? You're creating new characters. We want them to be distinct. We want them to have animations that aren't just a copy-paste job, all right? That doesn't mean, you can create similar animations for characters, but when you are creating animations, you're trying to express personality and context through those animations. And that means the way that a particular character animates, the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, okay, the way they celebrate, is probably going to be a little bit different than the way that another character does that. So you want to try and express that if you can. Technically, we just need the animations to be different, which means a few tiny changes could be enough to meet the letter of the law here, okay? But again, if you end up grinding out this project in the last 48 hours of the course, everyone's going to know, okay? The graders are going to know, and people to showcase are going to know, and that's just, what's the point, right? Why'd you take the course if you're going to do that? So do the best you can. Try and get started if you have not, and that'll make for a more pleasant experience, okay? Like the golden rule, it seems. Have you ever heard of Parkinson's law? You've heard of Parkinson's disease, but this is unrelated. So Parkinson's law is this kind of principle. It's this rule that, of course, is not an ironclad rule, but it's some phenomena that you kind of observe time and time again. And we definitely observed it this semester. And it goes something like this. The resources expended on a job will expand to meet the available resources for that job. In other words, if I give you 1 week to do a homework, then, we will spend that 1 week and we'll hit a certain level of quality. If I give you 2 weeks to do that homework, both weeks will be expended for about the same level of quality, usually. So what we observed in this homework, and I don't blame you for this at all, it's a busy semester, you got other projects and courses, but basically a ton of students are like, fantastic, I've got 2 weeks for this project, boom, the first week is gone. Totally ignored and used for rest or other assignments. And then, oops, hey, it was actually just a 1 week assignment after all. And the way that my other courses prevent this is by having a check-in assignment basically every week. It's like, yeah, you can take this week off, but you're going to lose all those points. And the thing is, having those checkpoints every week doesn't necessarily increase the workload because basically it forces you to spread out your work. Whereas there's nothing forcing you to spread out your work over the 2 weeks on this assignment. You can just grind it all at the end if you want. question.
Yeah.
Comment.
So how do we, I guess, keep it moving? So like,
it's hard.
was a nice cushion,
It's really hard.
But I spent like the 1 week that I had of prep time.
Yeah.
And I just made really elaborate models. Like I
Yeah.
modeled a whole
That's awesome.
rather than doing an area.
That's great.
Helpful, but the game has
Yeah.
a large scope. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess maybe then you have to shrink your game's scope if you spend more time on the model. It's like
Yeah.
you force yourself to reset your deadline.
So you used that first week, and that's really great. That's good news. But there's also a question of how do you use things. So I often get in trouble where I procrastinate. And the way that I procrastinate looks like it's a disguise. It's procrastination in disguise, and I think you can relate to this. But when I'm procrastinating, what it looks like is I have some really important thing I need to be doing, but I put that off to work on something that is useful and important, but not the top of the priority list, right? And so it looks like I'm working and being diligent, when in reality, I'm just procrastinating and not allocating my time and effort to the thing I need to be doing that on. And the result is kind of the same, right? The deadline comes up and the thing that really needed to get done didn't get done. And this other thing that kind of is useful is done instead. And it's like, that's a little bit better than normal, I guess, but like not really. So at a big game studio or a film studio, you'll often have dedicated roles called a producer or a development director. At The Sims, they were called development directors. And they were basically in charge of keeping track of the resources and the resource spend and the personnel. So these are the people who would know, they would assign you your tasks for that week, and they would know what tasks you have. And they would definitely be checking in throughout the week to make sure that you are not being distracted by some shiny feature over here that is not, it's cool, but it's not been allocated time. It's not part of the production plan for you to be spending that time. And they would poke and prod you to either figure out maybe you need more time, or maybe this task is going off the rails, or maybe you're not focusing on it like you need to, and we need to get you back on track, or if things are going fine, right? So that's kind of what they do. And I was told there's the ratio they liked was it was about 10 devs for every one producer to keep track of the devs and kind of herd those cats and keep everyone moving in the right direction, right? So if you ever are watching a film credits, or in particular game credits, if you watch the game credits to the end, you'll usually see a bunch of producers, developers, producers, and then you'll see the executive producer title. And you'll usually notice that actually that's the CEO of the entire company. So Andrew Wilson, executive producer of The Sims 4. And that's because the CEO is really, their core job is to obtain resources and then to allocate them as efficiently as possible. And that's kind of what they're doing. They're choosing which games get made, and they're choosing how much time and how much budget and how much personnel they'll get made. But they're also trying to poke and prod the team to make sure that they're working on what has been allocated for and not other things. Because we get distracted sometimes. Creatives, engineers, I think, are known for that. Anyway, that's my tangent. Does that help? Yeah.
You kind of have to be your own producer, I guess?
Yeah, so that's part of why being a freelancer is so difficult. Being your own boss, right? Being part of a small team is so difficult because it really, you kind of live and die by your ability to prioritize.
Because you said that, if you only have so much time, something has to give, right? You have to figure out what you have to cut, basically. I know in writing they say to, kill your darlings or to take your favorite stuff out.
Definitely.
I guess that kind of applies here.
Yeah. Did you hear that from Allie? No.
So.
Oh, okay. So Allie Shapiro said that a lot when I was teaching with her. So absolutely true. One really interesting thing here, in my experience, is that you come up with this grand plan of all the things you want to make, but in reality, you kind of know there's a very high chance many of those features won't make it. They won't survive. So the question then is, can you come up with a plan that kind of folds and falls apart elegantly, right? So you have this idea for a game or a film, but you already know that I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this. These things are first on the chopping block. We can cut this film in half and it actually still works. It doesn't work as smoothly, but it still works. It's still cohesive and comprehensible. Knowing what to cut is really valuable, I think. And I'm thinking like to when I made the autograder software for one of my other courses. Like I had all these features and plans and fixes, but when it came, the deadline arrived, when it's like, wow, it is like tomorrow this thing has to be functional. And suddenly all the features are just being cut one after another. Knowing which ones are possible to cut and which ones aren't really possible to cut is really important. So, and then having the discipline to do it. I've always been pretty bad at that. I'm super bad at finishing anything until a deadline shows up on the horizon. And then I'm very good at finishing the thing for the most part. So,
get burnt out. Or at least I do, because I do that all the time.
yeah. It's definitely, you can get fried pretty hard. I'm fried right now. Got 1 hour sleep last night. It was all my fault, really. I got distracted by experiments making my own version of RuneScape. And I have to do that. If you're like, why are you doing this? I have to do that to kind of advance the planning for the next course that's coming, which is basically an online multiplayer in live ops course. That's like a super heavy programming course. That's not a course you'll be able to take if you're not part of the EECS department. But anyway, ask me about that later. Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, it's a very interesting topic and a very important one. Okay, all right. Yes, custom game project, right? Little updates, but nothing too crazy. And please don't reuse animations wholesale. At least make tiny changes to them to be totally safe. Otherwise, when we're grading, we might say that actually you say that you made 2 playable characters, but you made like actually 1.5 playable characters because you duplicated all the animations across 2 of them. So be careful about that. All right. Okay. When you look at this assignment, just go checkbox by checkbox. We're going to be very letter of the law, and regardless of how happy we as graders are with the final game, right? Maybe we love it. Maybe we're like, oh, this is not it. All we're going to do is assign points based on these checkboxes, okay? And so make sure you're looking at these checkboxes and looking at your game and saying, does it technically fit the requirements? And if so, you're getting the points. If not, you might lose some of the points. And then you can start thinking about, wow, I really want this to exceed expectations and blow people away. And so then you can keep going, all right? And make it even cooler. You had a comment?
I was wondering, the environmental objects, I had a question.
Yeah.
Is that talking about like what we did on that one homework where we had to make like large environmental objects, or can it be like
it can be smaller, right? So
if I have a whole room with stuff in it,
if a student submits a project that has 6 different rocks in it and they're tiny little rocks, we're going to be like, this is a little bit fuzzy because significant means different things to different people. We are looking for things that are pretty notable, right? So, a couch, something like a couch is right on the edge. Something like a windmill is like clearly significant, cool environmental piece, right? A big pyramid that you like can go into, obviously a huge, big, impressive piece. If it's like a microwave and you're saying that microwave counts and that fridge over there counts, like, that could just get lumped into one kitchen object. And then we would say, well, you don't have quite enough.
If it's elaborate, I guess that's what I'm thinking of.
If it's really beautiful, it stands out.
Like if you put detailing on, like I made a television, but it had like wood paneling on the side built into the geometry, like something like that. Like I spent a lot of time on like a small couch with like cushions that stick out. I'll do other stuff.
I think the safest thing here is to go a bit beyond 6, so that if a few do get lumped together by the grader, then you're still fine.
Yeah.
So just be careful, right? I think it's going to be really obvious if enough effort has been put in to award points here or not. But this is one of the mushier requirements, so it could depend even on the grader. So yeah, be safe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Rock and roll. So. I do have a couple things, a couple announcements, a reminder for the assignment feedback. I issued some preliminary grades, but at the very end, if you've done additional ones, like if you give feedback on the final project assignment and the postmortem assignment, we're going to make sure you get points for that too. So I'm going to regrade all of those and go through it again toward the end of the semester after everything is totally done. So don't worry about that too much. And don't forget about your course completion stickers. People don't always love Blender, but they respect Blender, okay? You got the Blender sticker on the back of your laptop. People are going to see that from across the hall. They're going to be like, oh, dang, all right, that's a serious indie 3D artist right there. So make sure you come and get these things, if for no other reason than they were quite expensive, okay? And they are going to be quite rare on campus. Okay, one thing I want to show you today, I really feel bad about. I feel like the lecture quality has just fallen apart in the second half of the semester, health issues and time and all that. We will have a genuine final lecture on the showcase day, so please look forward to that. I've got some very good ideas for that one, I think. But I want to try and show you something that might be of interest today. This is a topic that I hoped we would get to in the semester, but given how challenging the game engine assignments turned out to be, on average, we didn't quite have time for it. And that's the question of, do you remember the NLA, the nonlinear animation editor in Blender? Do you remember what it was for? It's this idea that sometimes we want a single rig or armature to actually, or an object, to run multiple animations at the same time. And sometimes those animations conflict. They want a certain bone to do a certain thing, but the other animation wants that same bone to do a different thing. So which animation will win out, okay? And can we create a larger animation, a larger action, by combining tinier ones? And the answer was yes. So the question is, how do you accomplish this within a game engine? Because if you think about it, game engines are really where this kind of thing is extraordinarily common. So I'm going to give you kind of the insider sneak peek of 2025's hottest and most popular indie horror game, starring a redhead at a fictional school called Southern Michigan University. It is number 1 in that category, okay? And I want to show you, this is a game called Greek Tragedy. This is actually a fairly old build. I think the final game looks quite a bit worse because we had to kind of wreck the aesthetics to make the game run on Switch. Oh, goodness. Okay. Never mind. Hold on. Let me fly around a little bit. I think it spawned me way over here for some reason. Let's see if, here we go. So I can show you my little map for the start of this game. It's a fairly dense little area. It's the dorm room. There's lots of interactions in here, tons of icons, tons of cameras, as you can see. Let's go ahead and see if we can spawn in right here. You can also see there's just a massive amount of game objects. There are way more than in your test bed. So let's see if we can spawn in and make this actually make sense. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm not sure why it's doing this. It was working fine just a moment ago. But let's try this. I think I can show you the character. I could show you the character even if the main camera is broken for some reason. It's a shame. It was working just literally the last time I tested it. So, but I'm going to pause the game. We're going to go to the focused view. Now let's go ahead and just kind of look over here. I think I can turn off the gizmos. Yeah, and we can kind of sort of see the game. And I can kind of sort of play it if I bring it down here. Yeah, right? I can walk around now. So if you look at the main character here, it looks way better if you're actually playing it because we got the cool camera angles and stuff. But if you look at the character here, there are a few things that we want to do with this character. One of them is that as Amy takes damage, we want to play a different animation, kind of, okay? If you look, we can find her character view, Amy's character view right here, and we can find her controller, just like, you know, in your code bases right here. And I think we can even, yeah, we can kind of look over here, and we can see what animation she's running. Maybe, there we go, character view. So you can see we're running a basic idle animation over and over right here. And if I play the game and walk around, you can see we're moving into the walk animation and it looks normal. Okay, we've got dynamic bone going for the hair and all that stuff. Looks normal. Looks like what you're expecting. Okay, but here's what we want to do. When Amy is at low health, we want to indicate this. Not with a health bar in the corner, but we want to actually indicate it in the way that she's animating. So we still want her to run this idle animation, but we want her spine bone to kind of tilt forward a bit, and we want her arms to run a little bit differently, okay? We want her arm bone to kind of come across her chest and kind of look like she is hurt. In other words, we're combining two animations. Most of the body is going to run this normal idle animation, okay? Okay, but there's a second animation that looks like, and we want parts of the other bones, we want some of the other bones to partially run that instead. So watch what's going to happen here. I'm going to use a cheat code to deal some damage. Boom, okay? This looks way better in like the game when it's running. Okay, when it's working properly. Okay, so look at what has happened here. So Amy's facial expression has changed. Hold on. No one ever notices, but look at that. Her pupils actually will look around the room. And in this game, it's kind of blurry, and you can never get close enough to tell. So, yeah, that's just how it goes. By the way, in games and in film, you're going to do a lot of work on tiny details like this, and no one will even notice. That's, I suppose, part of the procrastination that we were talking about earlier. But look at what has happened here, okay? If you look, how many of you love the animation controller system in Unity? You just kind of like see this web of spaghetti and you're like, yes, I feel great. Well, what if I told you you could have many of these running at the same time? You never have to just settle for one animation controller. You can say, I really love them. I want to have like 10 of them, okay? Well, look at this. We have a base controller that right now is running idle, handling most of the bones. But we have what we call the upper body controller, which is running a different animation called walk injured front right. Isn't that strange? I can actually change Amy the weight in and out of this animation just like this. Watch what's happening, right? I'm giving it full, and then I'm giving it none. And watch as her kind of left arm bone kind of goes in and out of that other animation. For the spine, we can see that the spine bone is kind of like half in and half out of this animation. If we go and weight it toward 100%, Amy leans forward and looks significantly more hurt, actually. And what's happening here is that each of these layers, beyond a weight, okay, as Amy takes damage, the weight on both of these other layers of the animation controller is actually being shifted forward so that we're showing more of the injured animation and less of the normal idle animation. But only for certain bones, okay? Which bones, though? Well, you can look at this object called a mask. I'm going to click on it over here, and it will bring it up and show it to us. Okay? If you click on the upper body left arm mask and open it up, you can see that this mask is basically saying, hey, only apply animations to this left arm, bones in this left arm. If we look at the other one, let me see here, the spine. Let's look at the mask object that it has here. Here's the mask, and we'll open it up. We can see that for this spine mask, it's only the bones in the torso that are being affected by this animation. So you don't have to understand any of this. At a high level, what you need to understand is that there are more features in the animation controller system. Okay, you've just basically been doing this stuff, creating states, tweaking some animations, creating transitions, creating variables. But this layers button right over here can let you introduce even more graphs like this that all can run simultaneously, and using masks, these objects down here, we can actually say, I want this layer to affect these bones, I want this other layer to affect these bones, and you can use weighting to actually control how much it's being used. Each layer is being used. That weighting is controlled via code, all right? This blinking is being controlled via code. Can I actually find the, let's see here, blend shapes. There we go, you see it? Okay, so watch carefully. Watch carefully. When Amy blinks, we can watch as the blend shapes, okay? What are they called in Unit Blender? Do you remember? Shape keys, okay? If you make a shape key, it will come in to Unity as blend shapes on the mesh render, the skinned mesh render. And we can actually mess with this just by using our, our cursor. You can see Amy's eyes going up and down, tweaking, right? But these are actually being controlled and animated via code, via C# code that I wrote. One reason we don't really use blend shapes for animation is that bringing them into Unity was just a huge pain, it looked like to me. So instead, we can animate things like this via C# code, and not super complex C# code either. But you need to know a little bit of programming in order to do that, okay? And that gets back to, we now have a bunch of engineers in this course who are pretty reasonable low-poly 3D artists, okay? Raise your hand if that would describe you. You're an engineer at your core, but now you got some 3D art ability, right? Get your hand up. Okay. And so that's really powerful. You can all write exactly the effect that I'm showing here, and it wouldn't take you much time at all. But the other direction, right? We have a lot of great artists in here who are becoming more technologically capable in Unity, using components, building the animation controller. But artists, listen to this. If you want to be the best artist that you could possibly be, at some point, it will make sense to take the plunge and learn a bit of coding. You don't need to become a master at it, but learning just a little bit of coding will give you an immense amount of power, okay? You will no longer be just beholden to what your engineering friends give you, but you'll actually be able to go in and make tweaks yourself and make effects like this yourself without having to worry too much. And if you are nervous and scared about coding, don't worry, it is easy after the first 4 years or so, and it is basically just a big to-do list. If you've ever written a to-do list before, then you're already a programmer, okay? You're probably just used to programming humans because you write a to-do list to program a human processor, like yourself, or maybe a friend or a family member. The thing about a human processor, though, is that it's inconsistent, but it's also very flexible and adaptable. The thing I always like to say is, if you've ever written a shopping list, how many of you have written a shopping list before? Then you are a programmer and you've tried to program a human. The nice thing about a human processor is that it will see the shopping list, and you don't even need to tell it to go to the store and get the milk and get the eggs and then come back. If you forget to tell the human to come back, the human will just automatically infer that you want them to come home, right? If you do this to a computer, the computer will drive to the grocery store, get the milk, get the eggs, and then it will just stay there forever at the grocery store because you forgot to tell it to come home. And you forgot to tell it how to come home. It'll try walking home instead of driving because you forgot to say, all right? And so you have to be extremely, extremely precise in your to-do list creation for computer processors, okay? Because it'll do everything you say, no more, no less. Okay, all right. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. But yeah, you can get some pretty cool effects when it comes to animating. And often, it's very common, for instance, here's a very common scenario. If you ever want to create a game that is like a third-person shooter, or even a first-person shooter where other players can see your character's model, often you want the upper body to be aiming in a certain direction or doing a certain pose, like a punch or holding a gun, right? Maybe hold the gun with the left hand and right hand, but if a punch is happening, you only want the right bones to play the punch animation. And then you want this character to be able to, with their leg bones, rotate and run a certain animation that the upper body bones are not doing. To strafe or run in a direction, okay, or be able to rotate the top of the armature differently than the bottom of the armature. And so this is the kind of thing, at least in Unity, that allows that to happen. And I think in Unreal Engine, they have kind of a different abstraction for making this work. But any game engine that can do anything complicated will allow you to do this kind of thing. Okay? So, any more questions or comments? Yes?
So how does Unity know which part of the body the animation is affecting? Like, it had that stock model, and it was like, oh, it's affecting this arm.
Yes.
Does it tell it that, or does it, like, interpolate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when I say with the mask, like, I only want the right arm, it's like, which bones are the right arm bones? How does Unity know this? And let me see here. Where's the one? Upper body, left arm, right arm mask. Yeah, so right here, right? Which bones are these bones? Well, I think, if I recall, it has been a while. Let's go to Amy's model. I think it's in the Amy 2 folder. And let's go in here. So with the Amy model, there's another tab in here. There are a couple tabs you're very used to. Model tab, Animation tab, and the Materials tab. And one tab I haven't really given you much information on yet is the Rig tab. And this is a tab that allows you to kind of import the armature and also tell Unity a little bit more about that armature. And one of the things you'll tell it, or it's kind of automatically inferred, but you can tweak it, is like, yeah, which parts of this armature are associated with the right arm, okay? So you can say, hey, I have a humanoid character, and we can go and configure an avatar, and we can actually look and say, yeah, right? So these particular bones, okay, the shoulder right bone right here is in, let me see here, is part of the arm, okay? So there's kind of the standard humanoid set of bones, and you kind of associate the ones you want. So we could drag different bones in if we wanted different bones for the left arm, right here, okay? And there are some other little tools in here, auto map, posing, stuff like that. We can kind of come in here as well. We can kind of mess with the default pose if we want to. Anyway, kind of cool, huh? Sweet. Okay. Any other questions? Cool. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to sit down for just a moment so that I don't like puke or something. I'm not contagious, don't worry, but I'm a little bit messed up. And then if you have questions or comments or want feedback on your game project, if you want advice on whether something will meet and get you the points, meet the requirement, get you the points or not, or if you have to do a bit more, I'd be happy to answer those questions. If you have any questions remotely on Discord, please @ me, please ping me, and I'll try and jump in when I have time. Otherwise, you've got a lot of classmates around you, so please solicit feedback from your classmates as well. I'll be around here until about 4:30, okay? So the next 2.5 hours. It always goes by really fast for me. Maybe not today, we'll see. Yeah, that is it, okay? Any final questions or comments? Okay, fantastic. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's always good to see you. Please come up and grab a sticker, one apiece, please. I will see you on Wednesday, and we will talk about the showcase a little bit more on Wednesday. Probably have plenty of time for some extra office hours on Wednesday as well, okay? All right, see you in just a bit, okay? Okay, to those of you online, see you later. Bye-bye.